Where are we here?
So, hello, welcome to our first show of Women's Smart CSUMB. And so, you might wonder who we are. So, we are a sister group, a subsection of the National Women's March. And so, what we decided to do was, as MSW students, come together in solidarity with the national group to just talk about important issues that affect women everywhere. And that's how we came together. We were all feeling some type of way, as we call it, right after the election. And so when we found out that these three women were getting together to organize the National March, we decided that we wanted to be on board. And so we got on board. We started to do our own type of organization here. And it took us about 2 weeks of just planning, no sleep or anything. And then the big event happened on the 21st, and over 4,000 women showed up. It was awesome. So, what did you think about it?
Yeah, well, women and men. It was
Yeah,
families,
women and men. Mm-hmm.
all ages, and which camera?
Oh, and another thing, my name is Jackie Smith. I'm the march organizer, and
Meta Rubin. I'm one of the people in the group behind the march also.
mm-hmm.
And we're actually, all the people behind the group were all first year social work students at CSUMB.
Yes.
So and we just came together, and really
Mm-hmm.
it takes a force of like you had you just kept pushing for it to get it done.
I did, because I just felt like, the problem wasn't just Donald Trump, because everybody wanted to come out and protest him because of what he had said. I felt that our problems came way before Donald Trump. It happened when this nation was basically established, when it came to the male-dominated society and how we were packaged and silenced and just, all of our rights as far as a human being, as far as speaking up for ourselves, were basically just stripped away. We were told that the only thing that you can do is cook and clean, and that's it. And so when it came a point where we had to go out and start taking care of our own families, because our men, for whatever reason, they weren't able to help us as much, add to the family. The economy exploded and all these other factors. And so after that, we had to go to work. We're not getting paid as much as men are, even though we're taking care of our families as single mothers. So there's just a lot of other things that happened way before Donald Trump came into the administration. And so I had attended a talk by Angela Davis a couple of days ago, Angela Davis. And one of the things she said is that change doesn't come with a new presidential election. Change comes from the people. And so, and that really resonated with me, because I was thinking about it. We started this movement so many times throughout history. We started it with the women's movement to vote. Then we had the women's feminist movement in the 70s. And then we appear here and there throughout the little, spaces out time or whatever throughout time. And so now is our chance to rise again. And that's the way that I look at it. And so I was feeling, just like, I just feel so devalued. I don't feel like I'm respected in my own home, by my maid, even by my children, because they see how I'm respected by my maid. And so, and I want to just point out something too. I remember growing up, and I'd be with my friend's mom or something like that, and I thought she was wonderful. She would cook and clean and do the carpool thing, and these are Caucasian people or whatever, and she did everything that will define her as a virtuous woman, right? And so her husband disrespected her, I noticed, and the kids would be like, I hate my mom and all this stuff, and I thought she was wonderful. They didn't want anything to do with her. And now that I see, in hindsight, it's because just a general lack of respect for everything that she did. She's trying to take care of her family, and they're seeing that as being weak, not being strong. Then you go out, and then you're being disrespected when you're out in society as well, not being paid and all this. So all this stuff has got to end, and that's the way I felt what this movement was about. It was about demanding respect in our own homes from everyone around us, our family, and then going out in society and demanding it there as well.
I think it's an important point that you really go in, is that typically like women's work, or traditionally women's work through centuries really of like
Right.
caretaking and those kinds of things has never been paid work.
Right, exactly.
Also, yeah, and so in that way, not valued in the male-dominated world.
Exactly.
Yeah, and also of course the pay inequity that you're speaking of, which is in that area there's a lot of intersectionality at play too.
There is.
where especially Latino women are paid the least compared to Latino men.
Right.
So there's a lot to talk about. I wanted to just ask again about we linked our march to the national
We did.
women's march in Washington. It was one of those many hundreds of marches all across the country. And then so after that march, then what happened then?
Well, after the march, we were being just pulled left and right. Different coalitions was asking us to join their fight for whatever cause that was. And so we felt that we needed to come back together, regroup, and decide as a committee and as a team, like, where are we going to go now? Like, what should we do now? Now we started this wonderful, great movement, so we was waiting to hear from National. And they were like, okay, they put out these 10 actions in 100 days, so we decided to follow that. But we decided that's not enough. You know, we felt like the women were hungry. We want to go march. We want to get out there. We want to go demand it. We want to be seen. We felt that writing postcards, even though it was a very successful campaign, we just felt that wasn't visual enough. So now our committee is trying to get together to find out, you know, to decide and discuss how we can advance the movement, get it out there more. So right afterwards, I would say there was a need for more political activism. It's just, you know, I felt that that wasn't enough. And the women that I spoke with in the streets that would stop me and speak to me, they wanted to know when we were going to have another march as well. So we're hungry. We're ready to just go. I think that was the general feeling.
And it was also a real wake-up call, really, for us to see how much there is in this community, because we kind of had a little bit of a prejudice that this community is not really political.
Yes.
I mean, that it's really not activist in that way, and to see 4,000 people show up on that.
It was amazing.
It was really amazing. And
it was amazing.
And then also discovering that there are a lot of organizations locally that are engaging and staying engaged. Like Indivisible has a lot going on, so we're trying to kind of link up with some of them. So
the Monterey County Nonviolence Action Team has some things going on. Gary Scoop is having some things going on. The Peace and Justice Center in Monterey County. Monterey County. So there's a lot of different groups that we're trying to join. And so what we're trying to do is still stick with our principles and our core values of why we began the Women's March, but also support these other coalitions on the things that they're doing by showing up and joining their protests and letting them know that we are here in solidarity with you. That even though we have our cause, we support your cause as well, because at the end of the day, it's all about us, and women are involved in all these other issues that's happening today.
And one of those issues is that really also does affect women a lot, and the student community at CSUMB that we're part of is the immigration situation that we're facing right now. And I'm sure a lot of people have been following the news. One of the news stories from today is actually that the big ICE raid in Santa Cruz about a week ago, where at 4 a.m. there were helicopters and Santa Cruz police and ICE tanks basically were roaming the streets in Santa Cruz and detaining. I've had a hard time finding out exactly how many people, but it was a lot of people.
Wow.
And it was kind of it was posted as a gang raid.
Oh, was it?
That they were only looking for gang people. And today, the Santa Cruz police chief came out and said that they had not been informed that it was immigration related. So, as of today, there's some kind of a discrepancy going on. Santa Cruz police saying we didn't know that it was that they were going to also detain people because of their immigration status.
Right.
And ICE are claiming that, oh no, they knew and they had agreed to cooperate with us. So there's a little bit going on there, but it was definitely a huge action, and a lot of people who were detained who really had nothing to do with gangs. And it seemed to be an excuse.
You know, that's very terrifying. I can just imagine how terrified, you know, just everyone was. Not only like the undocumented immigrants, but as well as the citizens there.
Oh yeah, everybody.
You know, I would have been just terrified to see all that happening, and just thinking that they're going to take me, or they're going to take my neighbor, or just, you know, anyone. And it's just to see that, it's just shocking. Yeah. And, you know, and that reminds me of this news article that I read today.
Yeah, I'm looking one
in
up
Time.
Right now. Okay.
And so one of the things that they said that went on was in the 1950s, Dwight Eisenhower. He had some type of operation called Operation, I don't want to say the name because it's very offensive, But however, what happened was that they had rounded up over like 1 million people and deported them all at once, right?
Oh.
And so in
Oh,
those,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
and in those that were not deported, they were they left on their own willingly. And so a couple of months prior to Donald Trump becoming president, he had alluded to what had happened and said that he would like to do the same thing because they got the message. And so that reminds me also of the first person that they had deported from the country, which was that woman with the Social Security card.
Right,
And if you remember, it's like, why would they choose a woman to deport instead of a criminal, like they said, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what they did. And then they remember they took
Well,
the picture.
the thing is, it's crime to be a
Right.
criminal is being very broadly
Okay.
really used. So using a Social Security number that's not yours
Right.
is officially a crime.
I understand that.
So you can really deport almost anybody.
I know that. But,
yeah.
but he specifically said criminals,
Yeah.
hardened criminals. She
Right.
was not a criminal.
I know, that's like today he
Right.
was saying, oh, it's the bad hombres, the
Yeah,
bad dudes
she
we're
was.
getting
She
out.
wasn't
It's
a
like,
criminal.
what?
She was here for over 12 years.
Right.
She was checking in once a week, like
Yeah.
she was supposed to
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
And on this particular day,
Yeah.
she was a stay-at-home mom and she couldn't work,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
so she had a home, she had children, so she was checking in on her regular day, and then she got picked up and detained, and then she was being deported by her family.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, from her family.
Well,
yes.
I mean, from her family. I'm
Right.
sorry, not by
Oh,
her family.
I got a couple
deported
of
from her
I got
family.
a couple of more of those, that kind of thing.
Well, you know, I just wanted to put this out there real quickly. And so that reminds me what he said after that, what the news article alluded to was the fact that that was an image. It was put out there to scare the people who hasn't had ICE come after them
Right,
yet.
right.
So we're coming after women.
Yeah.
We're coming after your mother. We're
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
after your wife.
Right.
So you can either leave now on
Yeah,
your
yeah,
own,
yeah, right.
or you can leave the way that we want you to.
I
So
think
he's
that
giving them, it's a visual
It's
thing.
this self-deportation,
Right,
right?
exactly.
That's what
so
yeah,
that's
they're
why you
counting
choose
on. Yeah.
a woman, a defensive woman, a woman that would be out there pushing the carts that you see, a woman that would be out there working in the fields, a woman that would work in a low-income job and just trying to do the best that she can to survive. She's the one that he's going to use as the image to scare everyone, and not only them, but it scared me as well.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and so, but one thing I want to say is that the immigrants out there, they reacted. I was proud of them. They got together, they went out there, they started protesting. Even undocumented immigrants were out there protesting on her behalf.
Yeah.
So they got together and they just said, enough, we had it. We're not going to hide anymore. We're coming out. And I hope more come out and stand with us, because we're going to stand with them. But I just wanted to put that out there, that it did happen before, and it can happen again like that. And this is the image that he put out there to use to scare people, to make them leave willingly on their own, and that's not fair.
And in addition to that whole self-deportation that they're talking about, they're counting on, they're also a lot of people are just staying in Mexico. People like refugees or migrants who are coming from other countries like Guatemala or El Salvador. They're choosing now to just stay in Mexico and seek asylum there. And I think that's also one of the strategies.
Well, I was just recently too. I had heard about that they were like keeping out the Haitians. For a couple of months now, well, actually for years under the Obama thing. I hate to say this because everybody know I love Obama, but one of his orders that they had going on was like at every checkout along the states, along the border control between the United States and Mexico, that when the Haitians try to come in and seek asylum, that usually if you come there and you tell them I'm seeking asylum, you get to come into the United States, and then you work out the details when you come here.
Yeah.
But instead, they're being given a ticket and told to wait. They got to talk to immigration, and they're being forced to wait in Mexico for 3 months without anything. And then if they, get to see immigration officials, then they'll tell them whatever and send them back. So they've been sending back Haitians and not letting them into this country for quite some time. And so there's a lot of things that's been happening that we were not aware of.
Well, one thing is that the U.S. has never really ratified the Human Rights Agreement, the International Human Rights Agreement. So maybe they're not bound as much as the rest of
So I just want to put it out there. It's not only immigrants that's being affected by this. It's asylum seekers as well, like the Haitians and other people, the refugees. They're actually, they really need help too. So
I was going to bring up, because you were talking about the whole imagery of the woman and everything, and that's so we have a couple of other stories of women detained by ICE, and one of them was a woman who was waiting emergency surgery for a brain tumor. She was forcibly removed from a Texas hospital to a detention center by federal agents. And she was a 26-year-old mother of 2 young children, was bound by her hands and feet and removed by wheelchair
Oh, wow.
from a hospital in Fort Worth late Wednesday by Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents who brought her to a detention center in Alvarado, Texas. And that is extremely distressing. There's a whole, there's more details about that. Right. Another one, though, is a half dozen Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents showed up at a courthouse where an undocumented woman was seeking a protective order against the boyfriend she accused of abusing her. And then she had actually been driven to the courthouse by a victim's advocate from the Center Against Sexual and Family Violence, a shelter for victims of domestic abuse. And ICE got a tip from somebody, possibly the woman's alleged abuser, and they came and picked her up.
Wow. So we're like, women are not being protected from domestic violence. We're not being protected from police officers.
Yeah.
We can't even go have an operation now. And so, and what's happening with the children?
Yeah, no,
did anybody bother to follow up with that? Are they being put into foster care, kinship care? Like, what's going on with their children if mom's not home to go pick them up?
Well, in this case, if she's being detained, I'm sure they're going to get deported too, depending on. But sometimes these kids are citizens, though, so they might.
So how does that work?
They would be separated. Yeah, then they can be. Oh, yeah. If they don't have family, they might be put in foster care. I don't know.
Exactly, and so that's a tough decision to make too as a mom.
That's speculation.
Do you bring them with you back to a country where you fled in terror from?
Yeah.
Or do you let them live here and be raised by strangers and hope that they're given those good American opportunities and live up to those American ideologies of the dream, right? And they're able to attain it, but most likely they're not because of the way the system is set.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Another issue we were going to actually talk about also was that's currently in the news is the relinquishing of transgender rights.
Yes.
And I'm trying to see if we were going to try to get someone on from the Diversity Center in Santa Cruz.
Okay, that'd be awesome. Let's see what they have to say.
See if they have to say. Can we have that somehow call put in? Or maybe if I just call on my phone, we can just use the mic. Yeah. And then just I'm going to see if maybe.
Yeah, that's very interesting to find out what's going on with the gay rights and the transgender issues and just everything that's going on with there. I know that they're recalling all the bills that Obama put out. It's as if his entire legacy is being wiped away. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one area. Let's see if we can get them on. All right. What else?
Okay.
So
while we wait for that, let's talk about the Women's General Strike. So the National Women's March, we decided to stand together in solidarity with the International Women's Day on March the 8th. And so National is proposing to have a general women's strike on March the 8th. And what they'd like to do is for every woman to stay home that day or not participate in purchasing any items. Because what we're trying to do is show America that we count. We have buying power. We have all kind of power, but one of the things we do have is the consumer power. So if we stop buying things for just one day, I guess it's like a social experiment, right? To see what would happen if we stop purchasing things for one day. Because you know how they love to say how, that's the thing we love the most, which is to shop, right?
Not me.
But then it's like, I guess, does that include no grocery shopping? So I guess, ladies, buy your groceries ahead of time, right? Because that's our big thing.
I think another event a little bit like that was that I really liked was a couple months ago in Iceland, where to put attention to the pay gap, the income gap, was that all Icelandic women walked out at 77% of the workday. So they walked out of their jobs at 77%. So we actually have a call right now from the Diversity Center, and we're going to have someone from, let's see, we're going to just mic it in from my phone. Hi, Leah. Okay, so let's see if I can do this. Can we hear that? I'm not sure how this is going to work. We're a little bit primitive. We're just using my cell phone. Maybe we'll put it on the speaker. Okay, yes. Yeah, how is the sound? Can we hear the sound?
No.
Can we try to say something?
Yes, it's fine.
Hello, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
we're
working
good.
out fine. Please go ahead and
What democracy looks like.
tell us about what in your insights on the current movements against the transgender population.
Well, here at the Diversity Center, Santa Cruz County, where Leah and I work, we have been focusing a lot on sort of this February 22nd date that the Trump administration rescinded this guidance under Title IX that provided this equality for trans students. So right now we're really focused on getting the word out and actually helping to also support simultaneously Lambda Legal in their case right now, pending with Gavin in the Supreme Court. We're looking ahead positively, hoping that if the Supreme Court does move ahead and see this case instead of sending it back to a lower court, that it will have a positive effect on returning Title IX rights to trans and gender nonconforming students.
Okay. Can you actually just say a little bit more about that?
About what? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
We had a little bit of a sound issue. If you could maybe just
No
repeat that a little bit.
Sure. Here at the Diversity Center of Santa Cruz County, the LGBTQ Center here located in Santa Cruz, we cover all of the areas, all the way down to Monterey. We work up with the Bay Area. What we're focusing on right now, since the February 22nd date that Trump administration rescinded this guidance that the Department of Justice was accommodating trans and gender nonconforming students under Title IX. So what we're trying to do is create more awareness around this and also support our students here locally, who thankfully are covered by a California law,
Yeah.
and link with other LGBTQ centers across the U.S. because some folks in other states aren't so lucky.
Right.
And we're helping to get the word out that Lambda Legal, who is supporting Gavin in the case that the Supreme Court will be seeing, that Lambda Legal has requested support, amicus briefs, friend of the court briefs, to be given by law enforcement, teachers, and religious leaders. So if you know anyone knows anyone who is from those groups, or in fact trans students who would be affected, they are encouraged to write Lambda Legal and become a part of this support for the case for Gavin as it hopefully moves ahead in the Supreme Court.
That's really great. That's very good input there. Thank you so much.
Well, is there a website address or anything else like that where our viewers can sign up and join the fight to end this or to stop it some kind of way?
To help support the Lambda Legal case, they should actually go to Lambda Legal's website. They can also find them on Facebook and through Twitter, social media. If they'd like information about what we're doing here in California, in Santa Cruz County or the Bay Area, they can contact the Diversity Center. You can write us at info@diversitycenter.org.
Okay.
We also have a group that now meets here to help talk about how folks are feeling, particularly from the LGBTQ community. And we will meet at the center on March 2nd at 7:30 to 9
March
for a peer
2nd?
support group.
Okay, I'm going to
Correct.
repeat that. So March 2nd, at what time did you say?
7:30 to 9 p.m.
7:30 to 9 p.m. at the Diversity Center in Santa Cruz.
That is awesome. And Lambda is LAMBDA, or how do we spell that?
LAMBDA, correct.
Okay, correct. Lambda
Great.
Legal Services, right?
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you so much for calling in and giving us a little input from the Diversity Center.
Absolutely. We're happy to work together with you anytime. Maybe we can get Leah on TV down there and talk about it.
We might ask you to come on for our next
Yeah,
show.
that'd be awesome. Let's talk about it.
Great. Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank
so
you.
much for your time and for what you're doing.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
So this is something we also would like
Right.
to do for
Yes,
next shows is
yes.
to have people call in, or maybe we'll set something up with
Yeah, so that'd be nice.
yeah, remote interviewing or something.
Yeah, I like that. And so that was very interesting in what she had to say.
Yeah.
And so what exactly, because I'm not quite sure what the law was about in the first place, and how it would affect the group when they, take it back, when they retract it. So do you know a little bit about it?
Well, yeah, it's basically, it was the bathroom bill. is the
Okay,
main-
for the
right?
transgender unisex
So,
bathroom.
so really to allow transgender people to use the bathroom of the gender they identify with.
Okay.
And so right now, what the Trump, and on a federal level, so what what the current administration has done is to rescind that protection, and then depending on which zip code you live in, basically.
Oh, okay.
That's the other thing. So now your rights depend on where you live. It's not, you're no longer federally protected in the whole country. So if you live in certain states or zip codes or school districts, you could be forced to use, if you identify as male and you're transgender, you are forced to use the women's bathroom. And the rhetoric used around this is just absolutely disturbing.
It is.
Yeah, so it's a very, I think it's a very important
Right,
issue.
and I wonder how would it affect teens that are just transitioning from a transgender, to a transgender male or a transgender woman, to force them to go into a bathroom that they no longer identify with is just traumatic and damaging. And not only that,
it's a huge setup for bullying.
that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
what about the
serious.
girls that are actually in there, and
Yeah.
then here they are,
Yeah.
what they see is a male in the bathroom with them. They don't see what Trump sees.
Right.
They see what they're supposed to see.
Yeah.
The person who they really are as a male.
Yeah.
And they're coming in the bathroom. And they're using the restroom before you. The first thing you're going to think is, oh my God, and start screaming, right? And then when they recognize and they realize, and then it's going to be something else, when they come into the restroom. So I can just imagine.
And the transgender girl who has to use the men's
Yes.
bathroom.
Yes, who has to use the men's bathroom. I would think that right there would be the biggest, because, women, we're kind of like, accepting to certain things. We're like, okay, we're healers. But for a transgender male to go into a men's bathroom, I would think they would not be as open as we are. And you can just imagine some of the things that may occur. Like that one thing that happened, I'm thinking, I forgot what it's called, but she was a transgender, well, he was a transgender. I'm so sorry, because you notice how I just slipped up myself. But he was a transgender male, and then he was found out about it, and then he was subsequently raped and murdered.
Yeah.
So you never know what will happen when you put groups into situations like that. And so, maybe a social worker needs to sit down and talk with Mr. Trump about some of these issues and these ideas
There
he's
you
coming out
go.
with.
There you go.
How would that
you know
impact
what?
them?
I wanted to swing back real quick to immigration, actually, if that's
Let's
okay.
go there.
Is that a little bit
Yeah,
sudden?
let's go
But
there. That's not
because
so
there was
taboo,
one
yeah.
thing, a local resource I wanted to, that we just recently found out about, that I just wanted to mention. There's this thing called the Santa Cruz County Immigration Project. And they actually provide free legal assistance for any kind of immigration issues. So if you are having any kind of legal immigration issues, you can contact the Santa
great.
Cruz County Immigration Project. They have lawyers, they have professional legal services, advocacy, and community education information. And they have a website called CABINC, CABINC.org. It's part of the Community Action Board of Santa Cruz County. And so there's so many resources in the community that
Yes.
people can take advantage of.
What about in Monterey County for the folks that live in Salinas? Because
Yeah,
that
yes.
is crazy. Did you hear about that they had declared it a non-sanctuary city when almost 90% of their population are Latino immigrants.
Yeah, that makes no
and
sense.
a larger portion, well, a good portion of those are undocumented immigrants.
Yeah.
So how's that going to work?
And even more puzzling, at least to me, was that Monterey County is actually a sanctuary county. So
Okay.
I don't quite yet. If anybody understands that, they
No, I
can
don't.
be part of our next show, maybe. We have a question or something.
So
No?
Jacqueline, could you
Yeah.
let us know what's going on with the sanctuary city status? Like, how does that work? What does that look like? Do you know?
I do not know. I know that Monterey County is in fact a sanctuary county.
Yeah.
I believe that the county is greater than the city, so I believe the law does supersede.
Yeah.
I do have some information and a little call for action.
Oh, good.
I was recently listening to the radio and they were discussing that it is legal for immigration officials to pose as local police officers.
Oh.
However, they can detain citizens without warrants.
How is that legal?
It is legal, but they need the cooperation of the local police department.
Oh.
So particularly for the city of Salinas, I have some information here. If anybody wants to make some noise about this, we can contact Mayor Joe Gunter through the website at cityofsalinas.org and the chief of police through the website salinaspd.com, or attend the city council meeting, which is coming up March 7th at 4 p.m. at City Hall.
March 7th?
And encourage the local police
Okay.
not to cooperate with immigration.
Wow, that's
Okay.
just next week?
Yes.
Yes.
Great, that's great information.
That's very
Thank
good,
you,
but the
Jacqueline.
local police is saying that they will be cooperating with
Well-
the city officials. Is that the case, or will they not, or are they on the
I
fence?
don't know about Salinas. Did we know anything about
Do
that?
we
The
know if they're
Salinas-
cooperating?
No, the Salinas police don't, but this was this thing that we started talking about at the beginning, that the
Right.
Santa Cruz Police Department
Right.
are now saying
Okay,
that they did not know that they were cooperating on an immigration raid,
Mm-hmm.
and they are now taking a good hard look at if they ever want to cooperate with ICE again. That's what they're saying today.
right, but then they're also risking losing federal funds. And a lot of these cities, they will not be able to function without them. They'll go bankrupt. So how would that work?
I don't know about the details of that and how much funding
Right.
we're talking about, but that's a good point. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the whole threat
Well,
that the
one thing-
administration.
One thing I do
threw out.
know is that
Yeah.
President Trump, look, they're both two of the same
Four-
people almost,
four or
right?
five, as we also like
Yeah,
to call
4-5,
them.
the 45th.
Yeah.
That he does control 3 federal grants that he does not need Congress to approval to defund the cities with. And those grants are all social, what do you call it? The peace and justice grants. So they have to do with policing, like paying for their equipment and all these extra things that the police officers need to protect themselves. But they don't require them, So they may need 50 cars, but they don't require 75 cars. So maybe they won't get the money for those 25 extra cars. So that's what he can do. He
Yeah.
can basically not give the police officers the equipment and everything they need to protect themselves against the very people that they're trying to protect against immigration. So he's putting them in a corner, in a sense. It's like, we're going to let you do what you want. You don't have to help us out by, putting yourself into federal service. However, we don't have to give you extra money for bulletproof vests. We don't have to give you extra money for all these extra things. You can just do, get by the way you've been getting by while you protect the criminals, as they call them, that we're trying to go after.
Yeah.
And criminals
I
have to
think
be women.
I think the whole issue about
Yeah.
criminals and who are criminals.
Who
'cause-
are criminals?
Right, and the whole,
Yes.
it's like this
What do they look
narrative
like?
about, we're
Yeah.
getting the criminals out. But the criminal, that's really
That's not
very
what I
broadly
see.
defined.
I don't see a criminal.
No.
I haven't seen a
But
criminal
that's the
yet,
thing, you
really.
could actually see, I think that one of the recent things was also really expanding and
Mm-hmm.
saying anybody who ever got a parking citation
Yeah, they're a
or something,
criminal.
that's a criminal. all of
I'm a
sudden.
criminal.
Uh,
Oh my God. I am a
I think
criminal.
I'm a
I'm a
criminal,
criminal. I'm a criminal. I am. I have gotten parking tickets.
And I have a green card, so.
Oh my goodness.
I better watch
And
out.
I'm worried. I am really worried about you, Meta. I'm not going to lie. Because if he can come and start picking up people that are immigrants, undocumented immigrants, and all this other stuff, then what's going to stop him from going after green card holders now? It's really frightening
Well,
for me.
allegedly, in the last order, they said green card holders are not going to be affected. But
I don't know. You know what? I want to really put this to you really quickly, because I know you have left out the country. And if you could tell our audience where you're from, that'd
I'm
be
from
awesome.
Denmark.
She's from
so
Denmark.
It's not like, yeah.
Okay.
I
And
don't think
so,
there's a certain, like a
Well, I'm just
differential
saying-
treatment
I'm
of,
just
of
saying,
where people are from. Yeah.
what if
Right.
during the airplane, that whole fiasco, and they didn't know what country you were from and
Yeah,
what
yeah,
country
yeah.
you weren't?
Yeah.
So what if you got caught up in that net as you're coming back from out of the country,
Yeah.
visiting your family?
Yeah.
And you just, even though you look like a white Christian woman, maybe you're
Yeah, yeah.
Muslim.
Right.
Maybe you
never
got
know.
your head, all that stuff, and you're trying to get back into the country, then how would you have felt about that? Because, I was thinking about that, because at first they were detaining green card
Yeah.
holders as
Oh,
well.
I was
and
thinking
I'm
about it
thinking
too.
you
Yeah.
would have been part of the green
Yeah,
card
no,
holders.
I was really thinking about that too.
So how did you feel
So-
about that? Tell us.
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously that would have been, and that's what I just felt. Even though I never
Mm-hmm.
felt threatened, I could have a little bit of felt a little bit like how it would completely just upset everything, your life,
Right.
everything, because you plan things, right? And
Right.
you have kids in one place, and maybe your kids in the other country and everything, and then all of a sudden you can't. be with your family or continue your life or do anything. So,
For like 3 months, right?
I mean,
Or some time,
yeah,
they said.
It's
Like a long time. And I'm like, well, you just vacation. You're trying to get back in the country to come home. Obviously, you're running out of money. So, where would you get the funds to stay in someone else's country for that amount of time?
There are a lot of the cases that were affected that were just
Yes.
horrendous. I mean, with children left behind in foreign countries where they didn't know anybody. It was just.
It was a fiasco.
Really tremendous.
Yes.
I know you briefly, I think we want to start talking about what we're doing next.
Okay,
I know
let's
you
do
talked
that.
about the general strike a little bit.
Yes.
But I think we have a little bit more to say about it, right? Because we're
Yes.
actually going to be using this same, we're going to
We
be
are.
in Wave Street Studios.
Yes, we are. We're going to be in this space. And what we're going to do, we decided, because as you all know, we're social worker students. And so we decided that our job really is to provide the women with the platform and the space so they can come and discuss the topics about real women issues, what's happening in America. And so when the new administration is making these new policies, that they can keep that in mind because, they've heard their voices because of shows like this, right? We get it out there and they saw it and they heard it. And so the platform that day, they're going to be discussing the reality of women in America. And we're going to have a great panelist of women. We're going to have Katie Daniels-Kurtz, and she's the vice president of the Democratic Women from Monterey County. And then also we're going to have Dr. Vanessa Lopez-Littleton, and she's a CSUMB, which is California State University of Monterey Bay professor for public administration. And then we're also going to have Karen Areju, and she's an ACLU awardee recipient. It was in 2010 when she was given an award. She's awesome. And then we're also going to have Alicia Ragland, and she's a Native American and also a fierce fighter for environmental rights. And she's just a firecracker, love her to death. And then we're going to have Yolanda Pruitt, and she's the executive director of Ladies First. And what that is that it's a local organization to help young girls find their inner power to, get them where they need to go. And she's an awesome speaker, very inspirational, very inspiring. And then we also are going to have two of our Women's March members here. Estefania Rodriguez, she's one of our organizers as well. She's very passionate about intersectionality and about, connecting the differences, basically letting the people within our group, our organizations, letting us work on our differences so we can, truly unite and move forward as a movement. So she's really into that, and she's going to address those types of stuff, which is intersectionality. And then lastly, we're going to have Leah Capelin, and then she's also a Women's March movement member, and she's going to do the same thing because she's heavily into intersectionality as well. And so those are our panelists. I think it's going to be a rich discussion. They're all on, it's going to be a diverse panel. And we have some that's on this extreme, and then we have others that are on this extreme. So we're going to put the two together and see what happens.
Sounds like a good deal.
So Leah, could you explain intersectionality? Because I know.
Now I've met it.
Yes. I mean, sorry, meta. See, I was talking about Leah. So meta, could you explain intersectionality? Because that's a big, huge word.
Well, intersectionality, we kind of touched briefly on it a little bit before also. So it's really where, specifically when talking about oppression, is that different levels of oppression augment the oppression. So like an African American woman.
Yeah, use me.
Yeah.
Okay,
so you got
use me as an example.
You got, you have oppression as a woman and as an African American. So,
Right.
so you live in the field of intersectionality.
But what other things that affected me too? I'm poverty, right? Because my income is below the federal poverty level, so I'm low income. I'm a single mom. I have a teenage daughter that had a baby, so we have 3 generations of families living in my home. There's so many things going on that affects me, and a lot of those things are because of decisions that I've made, but most of those things is because of the society in which I live in and systems in which I was not able to navigate successfully on my own. And
yet here you are organizing the Women's March.
There I go. Explaining to you all these different. So that's what intersectionality means. It means that not only am I a woman, so I have that whole thing with the male-dominated society stuff hanging on my back, but I'm also African American. So then I have the race thing, and I'm black and all this stuff. And then I have poverty So I'm barely struggling, but I'm struggling well and also with integrity. Then I'm a single parent, and so then I have to be mother and I have to be father. And I'm a teenage, my daughter has a child, and so therefore I'm grandparent and grandfather because I don't have that. And I feel some way about myself because I made some poor choices, and that makes me wonder if that's perhaps she's perpetrating that same oppression. Can we stop the generational poverty in my family? How do I do that? Because this is basically happening right in my face.
Yeah.
And that's what intersectionality is all about.
Right. Yeah, you actually, so you made, I mean, you're in the social work program.
Yes.
So what brought you there?
Well, there's a number of different factors. I just, I was a victim of domestic violence.
Yeah.
And so for several years, it was horrible. I was able to finally find my strength through other social work programs, such as it was called Safe Families and Haven House for Women. And they, helped me find my power and all that. And then after that, I decided, you know what? I am so tired of being a victim. I'm so tired of being powerless and being stepped on and walked on because I'm a woman, because I'm this and that. So I decided to just go back to school. And the first thing I needed to do was educate myself because I knew I couldn't make it just on my GED alone and take care of my children. And then from there, I discovered the social worker problem. I'm a natural healer. I wanted to heal the world, and I wanted to empower other women such as myself to get out there domestic violence situations, to let them know that a man does not define you. Just because you made poor choices and decisions don't mean that you have to stick with those poor choices and decisions. That it's just something that happened, you get over it, you move on. And that's what I want to empower them with. So I felt that social work was the best path that I could take to, accomplish my goal, which is I wanted women to unite. And then from there, I found out I met wonderful people such as yourself, like you and Jacqueline and Estefania and the rest of our team. And then we came together. And so you all are helping me realize my dream, right? Helping me accomplish my destiny, which is to be an agent of change for women, for all women, not just African-American women or even domestic violence women. Those are just the ones I identify with. But, I identify with all at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what brought me to become a social worker. I want change, and I want it now.
Yeah. Isn't that great? And that's actually, and it's from that this whole movement really locally really had such a great, you had such a great impact on the local community by stepping out and being an activist for all women.
I think so, because I think also within, I wanted to talk about this. One of the things I heard about our march was that it was not diverse enough.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yes.
In general,
yes.
the women's
In
march.
general,
Yes.
it was not diverse
Right.
enough, and
Right.
so I've been thinking about that. It's been really gnawing at
very
me.
important
It really,
point.
yeah, it does. It bothers me.
Yeah.
So then I started looking through our archives of pictures that we took that day, and I was looking at the front of the march. The front of the march was a lot of different people of color. We had Indians, Native American Indians. We had Muslims. We had Asians. We had Latino women, we had African American women, and then the rest of them was Caucasian, granted, but they were kind of back there. The ones leading the march were actually diverse. And you had a few men, and you had to actually look through there to find them. But also you had a few Caucasian women, but you had to find them at the front of the march. So I kind of got offended with that.
I actually think
it was
possibly
diverse.
that our march might have been more diverse than the national march.
Right, maybe
I don't know.
that's it.
I don't know.
I felt like,
yeah, because we've talked in our group about that
Right.
general criticism of the women's
Exactly.
march, that it was heavily white, but
right, and then that's another
actually-
thing. I was reading the comments at the bottom of the newspapers when they were like, following up with our stories and stuff, and a lot of the people had some snide remarks like,
Well.
"Oh, what were they marching for? Because the 1%er's coffee latte wasn't hot enough." And I'm like, look, just because you have a lot of money does not mean that you are living super well. Just because you have a big house, you still have more bills to pay. You have problems too. Maybe you're struggling too. It's just a different type of way.
that kind of comment is also just, I mean, that's just somebody
Exactly,
wanting to have something
but
to
it's
say.
just-
They don't
it's-
know what they're talking about.
I know what they're saying though. You look at people, see, it's
Right.
just like what you see.
Yeah.
You look at what you see first, and you make all these biased, decisions based on what you see.
Yeah.
And so you see this woman, and she has a nice car,
Yeah.
and she has to look like she's nice and rich, but you don't see the inside of her. You don't see how she's suffering, how she's oppressed at home, how she can't do anything. She can go join a charity because it's cute, but she can't go march in the streets because that's not a woman. It's not becoming. She can't talk back and all these things.
Yeah, so it's much more
So
fundamental.
yeah, so that's what upset me about that.
Yeah.
Our march was diverse.
Yeah, I think it was.
Just put it out there.
Yeah, and our event on March 8th, right here at Wave Street Studios
Will
in
be
Monterey
diverse.
will also
Be diverse. It would be
and
diverse.
It'll be great, and please, anybody's welcome to show up. And I think we're gonna.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
Let's end it on a good
Jacqueline is
note.
telling us it's time.
It's time. Thank you all for sharing this moment with us, this
Yes,
hour with us.
this
I hope
was-
I didn't ramble too much.
We have never done this before.
I know.
But we'll do it again.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.